listening to the Marketing Happy Hour podcast, where we discuss career and industry insights with our peers in marketing.
We're here to talk about it all, like the ups and downs of working in social media,
how to build authentic relationships in the influencer and PR space,
managing a 9-to-5 and a side hustle at the same time,
how to be productive in your life and career without losing your sanity, and more.
Ultimately, we're here to build a community with you because we're all trying to navigate the world of marketing together.
Are you ready? Grab your favorite drink and join your hosts, Cassie and Erica, for this week's episode.
Hi, Sheena. Welcome to Marketing Happy Hour. How are you today?
Hi, Cassie. I'm so excited for this. This is going to be really fun.
Yes.
We already had a lot of fun, so I'm excited to start recording.
I know. It's so funny. We started chatting and I'm like, we should have recorded all of that. That was so great. I'm stoked about today as well. You and I met, or I should say Erica and I met you at our event in New York back in June of 2024. And it was such a pleasure meeting you and so glad you came to the event, but just learning about your background and what you do and everything was so awesome. And like, we have to get you on the show. So thank you for just offering to join me today. Super stoked to chat with you and just learn some different insights and strategies. But first I got to ask, what's been in your glass lately?
So my go-to drink is a very simple, I don't love too sugary, so a simple Casamigos with seltzer and a wedge of lime.
Love that.
So that's usually my drink.
Love that. I, too, enjoy Casamigos. But for right now, I actually have this brand called Uso, I believe it is pronounced. They're based in Brooklyn, so very fitting. You and I met in New York. It makes a ton of sense. But this is their green tea with mint and lime. It's a sparkling tea. It's absolutely delicious, actually. Yeah, they're so good. And I think we got a 6-pack or whatever. I've already drank the rest of them. This is my last one. So I'm like, I had to save it for the conversation.
Yes.
It's great. But anyway, Sheena, can you tell us a little bit about your background? What do you currently do? You kind of have like two different sides of your professional career. So excited to hear more about that.
Yes. So first of all, I just want to say I love that event in New York City. And it just made me realize how much I love going out of my comfort zone at networking events. So I commend you guys for doing that, and I'm excited for the ones to come. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you.
But about me, yes, I have kind of, two sides to my passions, I should say, because I really don't even think it's just work anymore. I'm very lucky because I love what I do. But I'm currently the director of digital marketing at Condé Nast. And I say that I lead the team of leaders who are driving subscriptions to some of the biggest magazine brands like New Yorker, Vanity Fair, Wired, Bon Appétit, across the site, email, and app channels. So it's a lot of fun. And I'm about to hit my 12-year anniversary. So it's been a while, and I started as an assistant manager, and I'm now a director, and it's, just so much fun working on marketing for brands that I, really resonate with and really care about. And a couple of years ago, even though I love marketing, love what I do, I started to feel a little bit stuck. And I didn't really know why. So, it was a feeling that, was in my chest and I didn't know what to do about it. It wasn't necessarily just at work. I just felt like I needed to do something. And I sat on that for a while, but ultimately started looking into personal development and listening to podcasts like Jay Shetty. I don't know if you're familiar with Jay Shetty's podcast. And, was getting more and more into personal development, but wasn't really taking action on it. But then I wish I saved it, but I saw this, just a random post on Instagram in my feed that said, passion is for you, purpose is for others. And then in the caption, find what lights you up and use that to help others. And that's your purpose. So I'm like, oh my goodness, okay, so I need to find my purpose, and I feel like I'll feel more aligned. And I don't know about you, but purpose sometimes feels like it's something so far away. But when I saw this, I was like, okay, let me just start journaling and figuring this out. So I'll never forget it. I went to my favorite restaurant, Piccola Cucina in New York City. I don't know if they have that in other cities, but it's a great restaurant. Sat at the bar, had dinner on my own with my notebook, and literally wrote out what lights me up. So on one side, so for example, the things that I wrote out: my nephews and my niece, traveling and experiencing new things, leading my team. I'm very, very lucky. I get to lead 7 amazing, badass women on my team, and I just, love that part of my job. And then also at the time I was starting to speak at marketing conferences, but when I spoke about building confidence and when I met people one-on-one and talked about confidence and worth, like that really made me feel alive. So I'm like, okay, I have something here. So then in that other column of like, how can I use that to help others? I was like, well, I can double down on my love for leading a team. So very lucky there. Use that perspective throughout the day. But then I decided that, I wanted to do more and wanted to impact more than just, the people around me. So I ultimately decided to get my coaching certification. So it took about 8 months because I did it after work, but it was the most amazing process I've ever been through. I ended up like coaching myself in a way because I learned so many tools and implemented on myself. And now I am able to not only bring that to my workplace, my 9 to 5, but I can work with others. So mainly what I do right now is on LinkedIn, I share daily bite-sized tips. I started my own newsletter. Like I'm just in such a season of creativity that I just want to share what I've learned with others. And it's just been so fun. So I'm kind of leading a double life, but not really, because it goes so nicely together of this marketing career, but also this coaching part of my life.
Yeah. And we were talking off record about just how important those principles that you learn in a coaching atmosphere, even if you apply it to your own personal journey, is so beneficial for just pushing you forward in your career. So in a way, although from the outside, those two quote unquote worlds may look a little bit different, they interlock in so many different ways, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
I have another very, very close friend who did the Jay Shetty coaching certification and absolutely loves it. And he is a professional athlete in Italy, but he also coaches up and coming athletes. And so it's so cool to see how that is being applied in different ways. And so I just commend you for taking action on that and saying, I want to help people. So I need to go out and do the work and actually be equipped with these different tools and everything. And I'm excited to chat more about just pursuing passions on the side while also working a 9 to 5, and we'll get there. But first, I'm just curious, Condé Nast is such a large, massive organization. And so I'm just curious for you, how did you navigate your career growth within such a large dynamic company? You said you've been there for over 10 years now. So what has that process been like? And do you have any advice for professionals just in similar environments?
I love this question because it is such a big organization and it is very matrixed. I mean, I'll personally say I'm an extrovert, so I love meeting people and it gives me energy. But I understand that not everyone's like that, so it could be overwhelming. But when you're in a big company and you're committed to growth, because I always say if you're, some people might not be committed to growth, but if you're committed to growth, you do need to take action. So what I do say to people who want to grow in a matrix organization, there are 2 things that I think are non-negotiable things to work on, and that is building relationships and building trust/credibility. So in terms of building relationships, especially when you're starting, you really want to have, those coffee chats. So working with your manager on, okay, who are the 10 to 20 people outside of my team that I need to get to know, and I need to remember their names, and I need to remember what they do, and let me know who they are, and let me start to get to build relationships with them. And that doesn't mean, putting on an hour with them once a week, right? It's just a 15-minute coffee chat is good. Work on a couple of questions, really just get to know them personally. Again, people love to talk about themselves, and they'll remember when you ask them questions about themselves. And then make that, commitment to remembering who they are, right? So like literally what I have is a running Google Doc with names, and like it has a house in the Hamptons, or likes to go traveling in Europe in December when we have off, right? Like random little things, and his kids' names are XYZ. So random little things that I like to remember, because that also builds that muscle of active listening. So in terms of also building relationships, it just shows that your curiosity, right? So not only, you start to get to know them personally, but like, how do they impact the business, and how does your work impact their life, right? Because in a matrix org, there are different KPIs running at the same time. That's just how it is. Ideally we all go towards one goal, but there are different teams with different KPIs. So getting to know and getting curious about how that person's work impacts the business, and how your work impacts the business, but how you guys can work together to impact the business together I think is huge when managing a matrix org. So I wonder if that resonates with you at all.
Yes. No, 100%. I tell people all the time that for me, I'm very grateful to have had the opportunities I've had in life, but I would not be where I am today without relationships. 100%. That is the number one. I don't even want to call it a strategy, because you want to go into those relationships intentionally, right? Yes. But having that as a muscle that you flex on a regular basis, to your point, is so important. Yeah. And just meeting people and learning different viewpoints and different walks of life, I think not only enriches your life professionally, but also just personally. Yeah. And it's so important for us, especially nowadays in society, to come together and just know a number of different people and where people have been, and learn about their lives and what they think and how they feel about things. It's so crucial.
Yeah. And even like, you can go a step further and ask them for feedback. Mm-hmm. Right? People would always love to be part of your journey as well. Yeah. And I think with feedback, you have to be careful, because you can't take feedback and run with every single piece of feedback that you get. But if you have a relationship with someone, you'll trust what they have to say, and they'll want to help you grow. And if you continue to build those relationships as well, ultimately you'll create sponsors for you. So sponsors, again, are a little bit of a level above mentor. Those are the people who are talking about you when you're not in the room, right? And pushing your career forward. And those don't happen when you don't have relationships, right? Like you have to commit to building those relationships. And then the second part, I think, of managing a matrix org is building trust and credibility. So that's huge. So if you're thinking about it, when you just start somewhere, people have no reason to trust you, really, right? So how do you build that trust? By doing what you say you're going to do. Right, so you could start with your manager. If you tell your manager you're going to get something done by Thursday, get it done by Thursday. Or if you see well in advance that you can't get it done by Thursday, communicate that you can't get it done by Thursday. Right, so you build that trust literally by doing what you say you're going to do. And that doesn't mean saying yes to every single thing, but it just means communicating clearly and becoming more efficient and doing, the things that you say you're going to do. And then also, marketing your marketing, right? You build trust by showing people what you're doing and how you're impacting the business. So I always say to my team, like, not everyone knows what you think they know, right? So tell them, right? You are, at the end of the day, your biggest advocate. And when you show people how you're impacting the team, the company, the business, it really goes a long way, and they trust you and they want to work with you more.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. And I think one of the things that kind of goes hand in hand with advocating for yourself is just this idea of being confident in your work and in yourself and in your abilities, right? So I want to kind of talk a little bit about that. Can you walk us through your 3-step framework for building authentic confidence at work? Really, what does that mean to you, and how have you applied this framework in your own career?
So early in my career, I really lacked confidence. Like, I did not think that confidence was something that I deserved to have. And I thought only a few people had it, and, they were very far away, right? I thought confidence was such a far away idea. But as I, grew in my career and built those skills, I realized, no, that is absolutely not true. Anyone can build confidence, and it's an active thing. So I'm going to share with you the definition of confidence that when I read it, my mind was blown. Because for so long, I'm like, how do I action on confidence? Like, I need a proper definition. And it was right in front of me. So I believe literally Webster's dictionary defines confidence as the feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities and qualities. So again, confidence is the feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. So I had to build a sheet around this. So I'm like, okay, so one of the first things I do on myself, on my team, and with my coaching clients is, what are 5 abilities and 5 qualities that you have about yourself that you're proud of, right? So write them down. And it's not always easy, right? It might take some time, but it's okay. Think it through. And again, ability is the power and capacity to do an act. So I look at that as more like a hard skill, for example. And a quality is something that's a little bit more innate. So maybe kind of like a soft skill. So you can look at it either way. So for example, abilities that I'm proud of about myself are leadership, data visualization, which goes very well with my work, data analytics and sizing. And then qualities that I'm proud of about myself are that I have gratitude, that I'm courageous, right? So you can really start to outline abilities and qualities that you're proud of about yourself. And what I have people do, I even have my team do before any sort of we have quarterly feedback sessions, is come in with the 5 abilities and qualities that you're proud of, and then pick one of each that you want to double down on, right? So again, when you write it into existence, you sometimes forget that you even had that thing that you're proud of, right? So you'll want to be it more, you'll want to act it more, and then just taking that step forward of like, okay, this one, I love this one. I think I have more that I could give here. Let me double down on that one. Does this resonate with you at all? Like, I wonder if thinking it through, like, this was such an actionable way. Like, I'm such a data person. Like, I need like a worksheet to get. I need to write things down. So when I heard that definition, I'm like, oh my God, this is such a great way. And I'm not joking. It works 100% of the time. So even, I'll never forget, I was on a trip without my friends, like on a group trip in Copenhagen over New Year's. And I was feeling a little bit, shy. Like, I didn't have, my friends with me. And I was sitting, by myself on the bus. I haven't told anyone this story, but I was like, okay, I'm starting to feel like I'm losing my confidence right now. And I'm outside of work, right? Like, I'm in a social situation. So I always carry, people won't see this, but my little notebook. It's attached to my hip. It's super small notebook in my bag. And I took it out and I wrote out abilities and qualities in terms of, meeting people, making friends. And I just, again, not related to work, but I was able to identify what I like about myself, what I love about myself, and it just switched my mood. It just made me feel so much more confident, and I went into the weekend like, okay, I know myself. I know what my strengths are. I know what I bring to the table, right? So it's not even just work. It's like, do you see how it just... I really geek out over personal growth.
Yeah,
I think you saw that earlier. But I just love that all of these exercises are not just for work. They totally can be used across the board.
Yeah, and I gotta say too, I mean, this is so good, and I love episodes that are so actionable, things that you can literally do as you're listening. So I want to encourage you listening to go back, scroll back a couple minutes,
Yes.
do this practice with us as we're listening. I can't wait to listen back to this and do these practices myself. And I think it's just this idea of self-awareness for one, but to your point too, it's this action of actually putting pen to paper and seeing it in front of you.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It's this idea of the personal affirmations, right? And there's a number of different ways to share and to collect and to view those. But I love that. And I think as a leader too, encouraging your team to implement this practice into their lives, again, not only helps you professionally, but also on a personal level. So, so good. Thank you for sharing that with us. So I want to ask to kind of, again, piggybacking off of this idea of confidence, when a lack of confidence is present, there's imposter syndrome a lot of times kind of comes in and takes over. So anything in addition to what you just shared for just overcoming imposter syndrome, maybe implementing practices to not fall into this trap of comparing ourselves to other people, again, both professionally and personally?
Yes. I actually love imposter syndrome. Let me explain.
I want to hear this.
I now get psyched when I get that feeling, that imposter thought. I don't even want to call it a syndrome, but the thought. Because first of all, if you're growing, you will always feel imposter syndrome. So I would actually ask, if you're not feeling imposter syndrome, what can you do to grow? Right? Like, is there something you could do to get out of your comfort zone? So that's kind of how I go about it. And it took a while to get there. But, I think it just means that there's a skill that you need to learn more of, and an experience that you need to have. But also at the same time, if you're feeling imposter syndrome, you're also there for a reason, right? So like, for example, recently, like I'll say I haven't been a beginner at work in like so many years, again, almost 12 years. So recently I was put on this really new project that was outside of, driving subscriptions and marketing. It's more on the data side. And I am working across so many different teams. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know everything about this. Like, am I going to be good at this? Like, am I going to be able to lead this? And immediately I was able to realize, okay, this is imposter syndrome. This is imposter thoughts. And why am I having these thoughts? Well, someone thought that I would be good at this, right? So I'm being presented with this opportunity. Yeah, I might be a beginner at it, but how can I take this with a more positive spin and really focus on how I can grow and how I could learn? Because I think with imposter syndrome, it also, it's kind of works really well with that idea of being excited about being a beginner at something. And I love that phase of that beginner phase. And maybe it's because I'm starting all this, this coaching stuff and I'm in such a season of creativity. But like, I just, being a beginner at something is so humbling and it's so exciting because you can get to learn so many things, and it kind of like opens your mind to learning, from different types of people too. So I kind of like equate imposter syndrome with I'm here for a reason. Let me grab that opportunity and let me just go for it. So that's my personal relationship to it. But again, it was not always like that. But what I always, I have this 4-step framework for when you're actually feeling that thought. And it's really, and then I'll go into some exercises that I have that can help build your resilience to imposter syndrome. But when you're facing that thought, right? Because it's usually like, you can usually kind of recognize when you're having that thought, right? Like, and I think anyone who's listening to this podcast is, growth-minded and open to building that self-awareness. So like, I do encourage everyone to notice when they have imposter thoughts. But when you recognize the thought, really think through what is a limiting story or limiting belief that I'm telling myself. So like literally just stopping for a second and being like, okay, what is the story I'm telling for myself? So I'll use myself as an example with that new project. It's, I don't know enough. I'm not worthy to, help lead a cross-functional team of all levels, right? Like I might fail, right? So those were the thoughts. Then the second, so even just noticing the thought is huge, because then you're like, wait a second. I am worthy of this, right? Like, so you already start to negate that thought. But even again, just in that moment, recognize the thought, the story that you're telling yourself. Breathe. Step 2, breathe. Take 3 deep breaths. Like when you take the breaths, you just bring yourself back to earth, back to here, and it also like triggers a self-awareness notion. Then come up with the next best thought. Right? So like that next best thought is, yeah, I might not know everything about this, but let me get to learn. Let me, be open to experiencing new things. Right? So come up with that next best thought. And, you can even go the extra mile of, is there an affirmation you could tell yourself? Like, I'm constantly telling myself I am worthy. Like it's constantly something I'm reminding myself about. So if you have that, you could take that. And then the 4th step is take one small action, just one small action. So, in my case, it was setting up a meeting with the leader and asking and coming up with 3 questions to ask him, right? Just 3 or just 1, right? Like just the act of setting up that meeting to get more clarity on expectations just like melts a lot of that, anxiety or stress away. So yeah, so that's my 4-step framework. So again, like recognizing the story is number 1. 2, breathing. 3, coming up with that best next thought. And 4, taking one super small action. Because when you take one, you'll start to, encourage yourself to take more. And then, in terms of really becoming resilient to imposter syndrome, because as I said, I hope I always have imposter syndrome. I really do. I really hope, one day when I'm speaking with Jay Shetty on the on the stage that I have some imposter syndrome. I hope I have those opportunities. But I think it's important to build the resilience to it. So again, that's doubling down on your strengths, right? So that exercise I went over with you guys a second ago. Another thing that I got from Jen Gottlieb, I don't know if you're familiar with Jen Gottlieb, who's also great. She has she came up with this achievements log. So like I don't know what she called it. I'm forgetting what she called it, but like a celebration of all your wins log, and I actually literally have it on my phone where anything that I'm excited about, like being on this podcast, right? Like totally going on that like my wins notepad. And it really, when you're feeling down and you're feeling like you're not deserving of things, you can look back at that on your notepad, right? Like if you want, you can have it on a physical notepad, but I like to have it on my phone so I can access it wherever I am. And then the other thing I would say is define what success means to you, right? Like we are always comparing ourselves to others. It is horrible. One thing, if you get anything from this podcast, do not compare yourself to others. Work on that. Compare yourself to the you of yesterday. But one thing that you could do to stop comparing yourself to others is by defining what success means to you. Right? So like physically, mentally, relationally, financially. So really getting super, super clear on what success means to you. So for example, if I'm looking at someone on Instagram who, has 3 million followers and is, a huge coach, and I'm looking at that person and I'm feeling down about myself, like that's not what I should be doing, right? When I define what success means to me in terms of my coaching, aspect of the business, it's success means that I'm impacting at least one person a day. Do I need 3 million followers right now? No, I don't. Right? So like when I define that, it really, helps. And I will say I know I'm giving so many facts, but on my website, which hopefully you'll add to the show notes, I have so many resources, and one is exactly what I'm talking through right now, Imposter Syndrome Guide, that has all of these exercises listed out. But I do think, again, celebrating your wins, really understanding your strengths, right, and defining what success means to you will really help you build resilience to imposter thoughts.
Yes, absolutely. And I was telling you off record, we're going to have you back on because I think there's so many different areas that we could dive into just with personal growth and how that contributes to your career, etc. And so thank you for all of these actionable strategies, things that we can literally implement today. It's so incredibly helpful because I think we also, we listen to podcasts or we read resources and we get excited and inspired, but then we're like, now what? How do we actually make this a daily practice and implement this into our lives? So thank you for providing that as a next step. Kind of like with your frameworks, how, take action on it. What can you do right now after listening to this episode to actually, take a stand for your own personal growth? So I think it's so powerful. Sheena, too, I want to ask kind of what we were talking about earlier in the episode of just this idea of working out multiple passions in your lives, pursuing a number of different things in your life. I know as 9-to-5 corporate professionals, we are so busy, we have a lot on our plate, things that we're thinking about. But what is just that encouragement that you'd offer to someone who has this passion brewing in their life of just wanting to pursue that and balancing that demand of work, but also this pull to practice and pursue that passion on the side?
Yes, I love this question. It's, super top of mind. And I love that my team is also really passionate about like so many different things right now outside of work. So I'm like loving all that's happening. But I would really say, go after what lights you up. So get like that exercise that I went through that, you guys can all do of what are you passionate about and how can you use that to help others, right? And just finding, your purpose. And again, my purpose is simple as helping people release their fears and build confidence, right? So once you have that purpose and you're not just, I wouldn't recommend spending hours and hours on a project that you absolutely hate, right? Like I think some people do that, but if it's aligned with your purpose and where you see your vision going, and you do set the boundaries of, because you don't want to get burnt out, right? Like I'm not going to lie, I spend a lot of time creating I'm basically a content creator now. I post on LinkedIn once a day. It's, it's definitely, it takes time, but it lights me up. But I have to also prioritize my time, right? So something that I always tell people is it is beautiful to have a passion. And if you can find a way to help people with that passion, that's great. But make sure that the same way we prioritize our time in our 9-to-5, how are you prioritizing your time outside of your 9-to-5? And I know it doesn't sound so sexy, but what I mean is, identify the things, and I won't even give it a number because some people have multiple things, but the things that are non-negotiable, right? So for me right now, as I said, I'm in this season of massive creativity, and I'm like so excited about this passion. So right now, my non-negotiables are, 5 pieces of content on LinkedIn a week, right? It is going to the gym at least 4 times a week. It is, celebrating Sabbath every Friday with my friends or family. It is, I also love to travel. So going to at least 2 new places a year, right? So like, these are my non-negotiables. How can I then prioritize my time, right? So like, for example, a lot of my coaching I do on Sunday mornings, right? So I block my time for that. Friday, Saturday are my, dedicated to Sabbath. And the gym is kind of like an after work thing, right? So like, the same way you prioritize and find focus in your 9 to 5, I know it doesn't sound so sexy, but it's so helpful once you have your non-negotiables and you can really then focus on the things that really light you up and will move you forward.
Yeah. And it's so important to just set those intentions. And for me too, I live by my calendar. So literally saying, okay, these are my non-negotiables. I'm going to put them in my calendar and I'm going to abide by this, whether it's Sabbath, taking rest, like making sure that's blocked in, working out, put it in the calendar. Like everything needs to be in there if that's how you work. So figuring out a way, knowing how does my brain work? How do I ensure that things get done that I want to prioritize, and just creating a plan and a framework for yourself. But I think just even this practice of visualizing what are those things that I have to do every single week. And then everything else, if you have time for extracurriculars and whatnot, great. But I think that's a huge practice, just kind of recapping this whole episode of like, making a note to write things down, to kind of have it in front of you to reference over time. It's such a powerful practice. And I think it kind of is a good practice in general for us as humans, just to get into this routine of knowing how we can implement different things and prioritize overall. So good. Thank you.
Yes, I love this. Thank you.
Yes. Well, Sheena, let us know, you mentioned LinkedIn, you mentioned your website. We'll have everything linked below, but just in a nutshell, how can we learn more about you, get in touch with you, and just see what you're working on?
Yes, again, as I said, I'm in such a season of creativity, and I'm in a beginner stage, meaning like I'm posting on LinkedIn a couple of times a week. So if you really want to, first of all, learn bite-sized tips on, personal growth, mindset, and career growth, definitely follow me and then hit that bell so you can receive it every morning. But you'll also watch me like grow as I'm working through. It's so funny. I never thought that copywriting and storytelling would be 2 skills that I'm learning and, 2 skills that I'm becoming more confident in. So definitely want to bring you all on that journey, and message me if you want to talk it through, or if you want to hear anything in particular. And again, as I said, on my website, I have so many resources. My newsletter, if you sign up, you'll get my 3-step approach to building confidence. So we talked about the skills, but then I also talk about how you can use your interests and your core values to build that everlasting confidence. And I also created a quiz that will help you, that I kind of, based off of the DISC personality assessment, that was so fun to make. But I kind of give you, your strengths, your areas of opportunity, your communication style, and your goal setting style based on your personality. So once you take the quiz, you'll get your personality style, and then I'll send over the 6-page report. So yeah, I'm just really excited to connect with everyone, and I want to help in as many ways as I can, and this excites me so much. So Cassie, thank you for having me on, and I love this conversation.
Me too. Thank you so much. And again, I can't wait to listen back to this and just begin implementing some of these practices into my own life. And I hope you're right there with me. Definitely reach out to Sheena if anything specifically resonated with you. I'm sure that's helpful to you, Sheena.
Yes, I would love to hear from you guys. Yes.
Yeah. Well, and we're, again, excited to have you back and just dive into more conversations just like this, because I think it's so powerful. So thank you so much for being here again. It was such a pleasure meeting you. I'm so grateful.
You too. Thank you, Cassie.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Marketing Happy Hour podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please remember to subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. If you want more of Marketing Happy Hour but don't know where to start, we invite you to download our free Marketing Happy Hour starter kit at marketinghappyhr.com/starter-kit. This interactive magazine-style PDF walks through who we are, includes helpful resources like a marketing term glossary and the printable daily planner sheet that we actually use ourselves, and contains clickable links to our episode recommendations by subject area. Not to mention all the fun extras like a quiz, the link to our Marketing Happy Hour Insiders Facebook group, a word search, a playlist, a goal-setting guide, content inspo by month, and more. It's our hope that you'll dive into this resource and walk away more confident in your career journey with a group of industry pals that you can lean on for advice and support. Snag your free starter kit today at marketinghappyhr.com/starter-kit for all of the info you need to become a Marketing Happy Hour insider.